Suck it, Hollywood. Hi everybody, Anthony here from Mossman Theme Productions, and today I'm going to give you my review of the big screen debut of Markiplier, Iron Lung. Starring YouTuber Markiplier himself, Mark Fishbach, Iron Lung tells the story of a distant future where an event called the Quiet Rapture caused all planets and stars to randomly vanish, leaving humanity stranded in space stations and ships, with some moons randomly now having oceans of blood. On one of these moons, a convict named Simon, played by Markiplier, is tasked with boarding a makeshift submarine, exploring one of these blood oceans and documenting what he finds, with very little chance of making it through the mission. Before I even say anything about the quality of the movie itself, I have to give it up to Markiplier for giving one of the most effective middle fingers to Hollywood that I've ever seen. This man just started playing video games on YouTube, built up an audience and basically an empire over about 15 years. He then plays a game that he falls in love with, decides to get the film rights under his own volition, and pours his blood, sweat, tears, and $3 million of his own money to get this film made, which he also wrote, edited, directed, and starred in. Out of all the YouTuber to filmmaker stories I've heard recently, this is probably the most remarkable. No wonder Hollywood tried to remove this movie from the box office listings. So, hats off to you, Mr. Plier. This success was well earned. Now on to the actual movie. As someone who actually played Iron Lung, the playthrough only took about an hour, I really have to say that this is one of the stronger video game adaptations that I've seen recently, especially after Return to Silent Hill. What Markiplier has done here is to take something very basic and translate it to the big screen pretty much one-to-one, but also expand it to the point where it feels worthy of a full feature. Cutting the writing, direction, and editing roles out of it, he had a huge undertaking here just in terms of the acting. Outside of a few very brief appearances from other actors and some brief audio roles, Brother is just balled up in that Ocean Gate sub for the entire runtime, and I have to say he really proved his acting talent here. Between confusion, anger, fear, and the occasional sentimental breakdown, I think he really nailed it, and it definitely helps carry this hefty runtime. The writing here really elevates this movie too, adding so much to the little bit of lore that the game gave us. It also translates the mechanics of the game to the big screen so well that it really does just feel like the game come to life. Right down to the mechanics of the sub, the way that Simon navigates, the pictures he takes, it's all really effective and incredibly recognizable if you played the game. Now, once the story gets going and he's officially on his mission, for a while you might be thinking, how the hell is this going to sustain a 2-hour runtime? And thankfully, Markiplier throws in enough plot developments and wrinkles to keep you interested. Seriously, every time I started to get a little bored, something new would pop up to make me interested again. And I really cannot overstate how well he carries this movie, even with the occasional dip into melodrama. Andrew Holschultz's score also does a lot of the heavy lifting, adding a darkly atmospheric touch. I also have to applaud the restraint on display here, another thing that flies in the face of modern Hollywood. This movie really thrives on vibes and atmosphere alone, making this much more of a slow burn than I ever could have expected. Though the occasional scare is there and definitely does work. I also appreciate this movie diving into psychological and Lovecraftian horror a bit too. By the end, you really can't tell if Simon is just seeing and hearing the things that he is because he's been trapped in that sub for so long, or if they're actually happening, and it works very well. Now, as much praise as I had for this film, especially considering it's a successful indie horror movie that has blown past its break-even point, it's not all perfect, because Markiplier, man, next time, let's hire an editor. I know I mentioned earlier that whenever the movie started to lose me, it would introduce something to reel me back in and hold on to my interest. This is true, but this movie could have easily lost a half hour, at least. Most of the individual scenes here do just work, but many of them go on so long that by the time we get to the admittedly rushed ending, I could really feel the runtime. I understand it's his directorial debut, he's very passionate about this project, it's very easy to allow yourself to let things go on like that. But I had the same complaint about Terrifier 2, as did most people who saw that movie. Damien Leone brought in an editor for the third movie, and it felt very tight and well paced. So, Markiplier, maybe next time you're looking to make a movie, maybe hire an editor. Speaking of complaints, the ending here just kind of comes and goes. It felt like he wanted this cool cinematic translation of the game's ending, and though it worked in that regard, it just felt so rushed that it barely actually registered to me as the ending until the credits started rolling. Thankfully, those are really only my main complaints here, because overall this is a very solid directorial debut from Markiplier that is about as perfect as an adaptation as fans could have hoped for. Shorter review, I know, but I really didn't have too much to say about this movie. If you like the game, if you like Markiplier, go see it. And that's my review of Iron Lung. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you next time for my review of The Strangers Chapter 3.